A report on U.S. President Donald Trump's current visit to China, where Presidents Xi Jinping and Donald Trump have started crucial series of meetings in Beijing on Thursday in the U.S.-China summit, where few breakthroughs are expected to many issues ranging from Iran war, trade, technology and Taiwan. Here is the full story.
The visit of U.S. President Donald Trump to China comes at a particularly sensitive and transformative moment in international politics. More than a routine diplomatic engagement, the summit between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping reflects the growing complexity of the relationship between the world's two largest powers. At stake are not only trade and economic cooperation, but also global technological leadership, military balance in Asia, the future of Taiwan, and the broader shape of the international order in the 21st century. For years, relations between Washington and Beijing have oscillated between cooperation and confrontation. The United States views China simultaneously as an indispensable economic partner and as its principal strategic competitor. China, meanwhile, sees the United States as both a market essential for continued growth and geopolitical obstacle to its rise as a global superpower. Trump's current visit, therefore, represents an attempt by both sides to manage tensions while preserving areas of mutual benefit. One of the central themes of the visit is economic competition. Trade disputes between the two countries have intensified over the past decade, particularly after the tariff wars initiated during Trump's earlier presidency. At the heart of this disagreement lies a broader struggle over economic dominance, industrial policy, and control of global supply chains. American officials continue to accuse China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property, and state subsidization of strategic industries. Beijing, on the other hand, argues that Washington seeks to contain China's economic rise under the pretext of protecting fair competition. Despite these tensions, both nations remain deeply economically interconnected. American corporations continue to rely heavily on Chinese manufacturing capacity and consumer markets, while China depends significantly on access to U.S. technology, investment, and financial systems. This mutual dependence explains why business leaders and technology executives reportedly accompanied Trump during the visit. Their presence underscores the reality that economic diplomacy increasingly shapes foreign policy decisions. In today's world, negotiations over semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and advanced technology are as strategically important as traditional military agreements. Technology has emerged as perhaps the most critical battlefield in U.S.-China relations. Artificial intelligence, semiconductor production, quantum computing, and cybersecurity are now viewed as essential components of national power.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and to shed more light on the importance of this visit, we are joined over the phone by Mr. Ayman, Ghoneim, Professor of Economics. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
So, Mr. Ayman, what does this visit reveal about the current balance of power between the United States and China?
Well, actually, this visit comes at a turning point in the world history because the economic scene and the political scene worldwide is being reshaped now. It's being restructured based on sheer economic interests. The U.S. and China are the two biggest economies in the world. The U.S. GDP in 2024 amounted to around 29 trillion U.S. dollars. The Chinese economy amounted to 19 trillion U.S. dollars. So they are the two leading economies in the world.
Yes.
Now, the present circumstances in the world show many things. First of all, there is an extreme polarization in the international politics and economics, and this was vivid during the economic showdown between the two powers during the last year. Each trying to extract the maximum benefits from the other one. I would not say the maximum concessions, but I would call them the maximum benefits. Each power was using its political arms in order to extract economic benefits. And it was obvious that till last year, or maybe till now, China is able to win the productivity battle. That's why China is the biggest exporter in the world. In 2025, its export amounted to 3.5 trillion US dollars. The US is the second largest exporter with exports of $3 trillion, but the problem is that China has a big trade surplus of around $1 trillion. The US, on the other hand, has a trade deficit of around $1 trillion, and this was one of the reasons of its structural problems, its soaring sovereign debt, which amounted to $39 trillion, which is around 35% of the world's global sovereign debt, amounting to $110 trillion, and the sovereign debt of the U.S. amounts to around 134% of its GDP. China has a sovereign debt of around $18.7 trillion, which is around 100% of its GDP, and therefore its economy offers more fiscal discipline than the American economy. Now, we've seen last year, as I told you, the economic showdown between the two powers. The U.S. had a big problem of trade deficit, and that was one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons of its soaring sovereign debt, and that's why it tried to extract the maximum or the best trade terms from China by using its tariff policy, and also by using its political power. In October 2025, the two powers reached what I call a strategic economic truce, by which they decided to postpone the mutual increase in tariffs till June 2026 for some of the commodities and till November 2026 for other products. And therefore, it was expected actually from the last year that in 2026 we will see extensive negotiations between the two powers to reach a permanent economic agreement or a permanent economic settlement. Actually, we haven't seen this so far. Everybody was busy with the conflict in the Middle East, which also has economic repercussions, because you know that the Middle East controls more than 25% of the liquefied natural gas trade in the world, and more than 25 to 30% of the oil exportation. And the conflict in the Middle East led to an increase in oil prices.
Yes. Just
before the war, Brent oil price was $73 US dollars per barrel. Now I think it's 105 US dollars per barrel, and this was expected to spur a global inflationary wave. Actually, in the U.S., inflation increased from 2.4% in Jan 2026 to around 3.8% in April 26, and it's expected that it may increase more if the prices of oil continue to be high, and if the conflict continues, and if the supply chains of oil continue to be cut. That's why the U.S. is trying to find other economic alternatives, and one of which is to reach an economic agreement or a trade agreement with China. And that's why this visit comes at a strategically critical point.
So, Sarah, what concrete trade concessions is Trump hoping to secure from China?
Well, actually, the U.S. as a major power tries to get the maximum benefits. I would not call them concessions, but the maximum benefits from its trade partners, and it has been trying to do so during the last year.
Yes.
We've seen the economic truce between the two powers in October 25. One of the terms of such truce was that China pledged to buy big amounts of soybeans and of American agricultural products, and that's why presently the U.S. is trying to secure more access of American companies into China. It's trying to get China to buy more of its agricultural products. And the U.S. here is using all its means, whether economic and or political means. Actually, in the old times, this philosopher of war, he was called von Clausewitz, he said that war is the tool of politics, and now it's said that politics is the tool of economics. Now, it's very obvious that all the political moves, even all the conflicts in the world, are spurred by economic motivation. And that's why the U.S. now is trying, as I told you, to get the maximum benefits from China, especially that with the soaring U.S. debt, sovereign debt, to more than $39 trillion, representing 134% of its GDP, and the increasing U.S. inflation. And here, regarding the inflation, by the way, we have to be careful because the inflation so far is based on products or on the prices of products, some of which were produced based on the high oil prices, while others were old stocks that were produced based on the lower oil prices. But if the oil prices continue on the high side, then all the products will be produced based on the high oil prices, and that's when we can see high inflation. If you remember, in 2022, at the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war, when the inflation in the U.S. soared to 9.1% in June 2022, and this was the highest level since more than 40 years, since President Ronald Reagan's time. This led to an increasing interest rates by around 5%, to a targeted level of 5.25 to 5.5%, which was also the highest level since 2020 or since 2002. So this structural problem, combined with the high U.S. sovereign debt, shows us that first of all, the world economy is like connected tubes. When some problem happens somewhere, it affects other places. Plus, you can also have a so-called domino effect. When you have a problem somewhere, due to the interconnectedness of the economic gears, I would call them, such interconnectedness would lead to the problem diversifying or spreading all over the place.
Dr. Ayman, I'd like to thank you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, Professor of Economics. Thank you, Dr. Ayman, for being with us. And by that, the viewers come to the end of today's edition of The Breakfast Show. Thank you for watching.